Well, hello, 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 hello. Those of you who are out there joining us, it is almost spring. We have turned the clocks up all around, all around the world, and might just be a little confusing today. What time is it? Is time even a thing? Thank you so much for joining. My name is Mrs. Tiffany, head Imagineering of Imagiread. Super excited to be here today. We're talking to the creators behind Joy, Sun, Bear. And one of my favorite people joins us this evening or this afternoon into evening. It's rainy and kind of dreary. That's why the other reason why it's so confusing. Kalila, who is a part of the Imagireading family. She keeps me on my toes, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm super excited about today. She's joining us. She doesn't have her camera on because she's going to be managing some of the commentary. And as we wait for the Joy Sun Bear, pardon me, family to join us, I want to give you a little bit of backstory about what this whole Meet the Author series is. And so I created the series because there is some backstory, some familiarization with print text, author's purpose, and knowledge of the actual book development that has to happen when we're talking about literacy development for children. And this series specifically asks authors who are invested in equitable access for literacy development through a culturally responsive lens to come and share with us what projects they're working on, what matters to them, what their work has been able to accomplish, and how they feel about that. More than anything, right now, we have an obligation to support our children, but we can't do that if we ourselves are not well. And so this series is hopeful to connect scholars, learners, parents, educators, administrators, everyone who's interested in what it means to revere and support healthy whole children through a author's lens, if you will. And so that's the purpose. That's what we're doing today. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Imagiread if you aren't already. So that being, I got that out of the way. I just want to let you know, last month we talked to the magnificent Iris Thomas about the release of the Flitlets. And I have some super, super, super wonderful news to share with everyone. Yeah, but I'm going to have to hold it because she's not ready to share. But once she is, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for every comment, all of it. I mean, it was unreal. When I went back to look at all of the comments, all of just the love there, it made me teary-eyed. So thank you so much for all joining in. It was a wonderful opportunity to get familiar with the Flitlets all over again, even though they've been near and dear to me forever. Bless you, sweetheart. I have some allergies that are on the fritz here. And it was just wonderful. The video is available to view on YouTube. So feel free to watch that if you missed it. You will find some nuggets, again, as if you have a child, a learner, from the diversity and inclusion standpoint. It was just loaded with so much. So again, let me check in here on the Joy Sun Bear family. And let's see if they are having difficulty getting on here. We're using a platform. We're using a platform that's a little different. And it can be confusing. So it can be confusing. So I just want to make sure that they're okay, that they have all that they need. All right. So while we're checking into that, thank God I have Kalila today. While we're checking into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the directions. Oh, so let's see. Okay, so they're trying to get in. So bear with us. Bear with us. They're trying to get in here. Hi, Irie. Okay. It's 10 o'clock in Wales, and she's still awake. Hi, Irie. So good to see you. All right, we're just waiting. So I wanted to tell everybody what we just posted. If you haven't already, this month is Healthy Eating Month, and our partners over at the Alliance for a Healthier Generation did a whole slew of healthy eating tips for the family. Be sure to check that out on our website at Imagiread.com. In addition, we have just released or re-released, if you will. This is almost 3 years old now. Wow, the Smart Learning System. We're going to be releasing some activities that will really help learners to fit these reading strategies that we've been developing over the years into their lives. We have to close the illiteracy gap. We have to close it. And the Smart Learning System is, oh, okay. Sorry, you guys. Here, let's see. I am going to, let me do this. I'm sorry. I just got a message from them saying that they're having some email trouble. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. So going back to what I was saying, so we just posted an article, a blog about smart learning and how your learner can go ahead and intersperse it and introduce it into their practices. And the purpose, of course, was reiterating we need to close the illiteracy gap now more than ever. We have hybrid learning happening, and I can't say this enough. I recently released a Kalila actually we both spent hours on it, a story play. And I talked about how back in 2017, I facilitated a workshop for educators called 21st Century Literacy Learning. And I talked about how the classroom would change dramatically and how learners, if they weren't supported through that transition, that we would lose even more. Now, I had no idea there would be a pandemic, no idea, but I knew it was going to change. And so the gist was, now that we're on the other side of the change and we're 1 year in, it's really hard to believe. We have to do all we can to really help learners. We have to meet them where they are, and we have to ask better, purposeful questions, right? Learning and engagement should be fun. It should be adaptive. It should be reflective, and it should be thorough. They should be able to see the fruit of what they learn out in the world. This is a personal experience, but it's contributory in so many ways. And so what the premise of smart learning is it centers mindful learning, and it teaches learners how to use technology symbiotically, right? Our kids are inundated with tech, and it's not the best thing for them. And so as parents and educators, we have to do a better job of teaching them how to be balanced. With that, again, that means that we have to be balanced. So I just posted that on our website, Imagiread.com. Feel free to check it out. There's a sample activity that I am going to ask Kalita to help me to get together so that we can walk through it and I can actually guide learners step by step on how to practice, because that's what learning is. All right, let me check in on the Joyce on Bear family and see if they got the link. Might have to log in. Thank you so much for being so patient. I'm super excited to talk to them, you all, because when we start talking about their work, It's everything Imagiread stands for. So, I mean, the social emotional intelligence, the awareness, and we have so much in common because, like, like, oops, there it is. All right, let's see if she can. Let's see if she can. If they can get on. Just like myself, when I started out on this journey, and I wrote an actual book, and I featured my son Tim in its Watertime Mom. That's essentially how the Joy Sun Bear adventure started off. And I am so happy to talk to the crew because their story is so intriguing. It's so interesting. It really is. And it's inspired. It's inspired by their daughter. So I just can't wait for you guys to hear it because it's going to pull it all together. I'm hoping it's empowering for our kids. Oh, here they are.
Hey.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
We're a little cozy here on the screen.
Looks like we got to get closer.
Yes, get close. Get
You
close.
gotta come this way. You gotta come
Do I
this
gotta come
way.
that way?
Yeah,
I'm going the wrong way. Excuse me. Hi.
It's so good to see you guys.
So
Hello.
good to see you. We're so grateful to be here, and thank you for being patient. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's 21st century. This is where we are.
All of this should just work by now, right?
Well, I mean, it needs human capacity, and that's what we keep forgetting. Like, oh, we have to tell the machine what to do. Oh, okay. It's okay. We're here now. So I've been talking a little bit about, our background. We have some viewers watching us, super excited. Kalila, who is, she's part assistant, part Wonder Woman. She's joining us. So she's in the middle here with this black.
Hi, Kalila.
Yeah, she's going to be managing some of the comments. So that, because if we get deep into the conversation, I'm not going to pay attention to those comments. I just want to pay attention to you guys. And I've been talking about some of the background, why this series is a series, how it seeks to support our learners, right? Especially right now with social emotional intelligence and digital learning and everything that's going on COVID. We're going to talk about that, the workbook, right? We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. But I was just recently talking about how we share one thing in common, that our children have been a source of inspiration for these literal works, right? Like my son was, the main focus and the character of my first book, It's Watertime Mom, which birthed Imagiread in a broader sense. And then your daughter has been the inspiration. So, all right, I guess we should just, I know you guys, and I guess I just started talking, but I guess we should introduce you guys.
Sure.
That would be nice. So tell us, what's your name, who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So my name is John Lee. I'm the co-author and illustrator of the books on Joy Sun Bear.
And I'm Shireen Lee. I'm the creative director of Joy Sun Bear and also a new author to Big Changes, New Adventures, a COVID Feelings workbook.
And we also on our team, not shown, is Blanca Carranza, who was the character creator of the main character Joy.
She's an amazing globetrotter, former preschool teacher, daycare owner of over 30 years, brought diverse learning in different cultures and foods and music into her daycare to teach kids about the world, about tolerance, about, really seeing themselves and in others, right? The similarities that we see between our cultures and the differences that we learn from. So she's very special to us and the creator.
We've talked about her before, and this is a perfect time because you said inspiration. And what we're talking about, we talked about it briefly last month. Imagination is currency. And if we can continue to have our children center their imagination and really hone in on it, this is what makes it futuristic, right? This is what leads us to innovation, understanding how all these pieces work together. But I want you guys to talk some more about Blanca, because and we're going to try to do a timeline because I'm just super excited. So if I'm all over the place, whatever. I'm sorry. Just because I'm so excited to talk to you guys.
We're really blessed to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. This is like, it's so many pieces and it's so layered and I want to get to everything. So Blanca, the first book, how long has the first book been out?
So we self-published the first book in 2018, but Joyce Sumber actually goes back even farther than that. When Blanca came to us originally to partner with us, we decided to start creating Joyce Sumber as an education slash diversity or inspiration brand. And to do that, we actually started with our website and a travel blog where we sent joy around the world. We probably started in this on this 2015. Yeah.
Aaliyah was 5.
And so Joy would travel the world. Every month he'd go to a new country, and the whole team would do a ton of research about that country. We'd learn about some of the cultural things. We'd learn about key locations, interesting points of interest, their language, their food, their music, their art, their history, little traits about their culture. And we'd put all of this into a story where Joy would keep a travel blog, and he'd talk to his readers about his experience in that country. And he'd meet a couple of friends, usually a boy and a girl, so that they see examples of what the names are like in that country. And he'd travel around with these friends. And then every blog would have a different feel. There'd be about 4 a month. And at the end, there would be a how can you help section. So for our first blog, he actually went to Sumatra, where the character's from. And so we talked about deforestation and about conservation, right? And things that kids can do. One of the things I think that Shreen and I, it's kind of our superpower, is we excel at being able to translate these big global concepts into things little kids can understand and ingest. And we built this over years of being, parents, and doing this blog actually was a huge part of that. And about 2017, we were like, well, we need to start telling Joy's story. And that's when we got started with the first book, The Blue Amber of Sumatra, which is his origin story. So Blanca and I co-authored that. I did the illustrations, and it tells a story about Joy meeting his new friend, Tipa. Now, Tipa is an orangutan who, along with a bunch of other animals, their forest home had just been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were refugees into Joy's part of the forest. So at the time, I might ramble on a little bit this. I'll try to keep it
No.
as possible. So at the time, the refugee crisis in Syria was a major deal, right? It was all in the news. It really broke our hearts. So we wanted to integrate that into the story. And that's where this idea of Tipa and her family and friends were refugees. And there were some local orangutans that didn't want them around for various reasons.
Yeah.
One of those reasons was a big magical lie that they had cursed the great big fig tree in the center of Joy's forest, and the refugees were taking the blame for it. They weren't responsible. It was the trickster. He's a little nasty little character in our stories.
Yeah.
But the point was they got the blame for it. And Joy tried to stand up and help and made things a little bit hairier, a little bit more tense. So the story is him going on this little adventure to try to find a way of proving that they're not to blame. And in the end, it all works out well. And we find out that, Joy's part of this bigger world. He finds out he's part of this bigger world, but that this world needs him. And so we hope that is analogous to kids that, they're small and they're just, they're getting to this age, they're learning about how big and how complicated the world is, but that it needs them.
To empower them.
Totally. Like, first of all, I love the fact that the trickster doesn't have a name.
There's a point to that, but I don't want to spoil anything.
No, me neither. Because I'm like, oh my God, the figurative. There's so many layers to how the book was written and developed. That's why I wanted for you to expound on, your illustrating, the inspiration from Blanca, how you interspersed it all. Because I do remember like the coloring pages, the recipes, like all of it when it first started. And the story was brilliant then. It was working up. But it was phenomenal then. I loved it then. And now it's just like, to look back and see, wow, look at how things have progressed. Yeah. And look at how, again, you're just encouraged to follow your heart, right? To just do those things that are important to you. Because as we go along, and you guys have had, like, I remember the fires in California here recently. We had the winter storm here, COVID. it's never give up. There's so much in the story that, you know, relates to everyday life that I know children will absolutely love. That's why I wanted to go back. Like, how long has this been? So 2015. Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Aaliyah was 5. And the great thing is, Tiffany, is Aaliyah has been part of this since the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time we did a blog and we were in Blanca's kitchen, the 4 of us sitting around the table,
Mhm.
and we all worked together to make the recipe that we were going to put in the blog.
Mm-hmm.
Because we wanted to experience that and know how it is and teach our daughter as well. Like, hey, let's try this food from Sumatra.
Yeah.
What is this? What are the ingredients? Why do they eat these? You know, why is it that this kind of food is eaten there? Well, because this is what's grown there. And, you know, just teaching her all those lessons. And it just really brought us together as a group. It brought more, I think, authenticity to the blogs. You know, a lot of our hearts is in everything we do, and that's because we're going through it with the reader. We're going through it with our audience. Like, we're putting our heart and soul into this and experience it for ourselves, so we can actually come to you and say, hey, you know, this is a great food, we recommend it, or this is, you know, this is what we've learned, and, you know, we've done our research and we know this is legit, and now you can safely take it to your child, to your students, and say, hey, let's learn this together.
Right. I love that, because not only is it encouraging new tradition, but it's centralized to family literacy, right? We're learning together, right?
Exactly.
Cooking, you know, there's the art in and of itself, there's the science, there's the math. It's so empowering to just do it with your kids. And this ties in again. You guys got to forgive me for being all over the place and possibly rambling. I'm just super excited. It's like, oh my God, there's so much to talk about. But cooking right now, and I talked a little bit about how I posted this on our website, the article about healthy eating with one of our partners, the Alliance of a Healthier Generation. Cooking right now can be the thing that really just promotes, you know, peaceful mindfulness. You know, it could even be just that's the only time that we'll get to be together as a family. We have so many different stories happening right now, and so many families are affected in so many ways. And so totally, Irie said blended learning. This is an opportunity for us to do something, to learn about it, to really, you know, be grateful, because as you all know, in cultures, in terms of food is that staple, but it's also gratitude, right? There's prayers before, after, there's cleanliness involved, there's a lot of different things involved when it comes to sharing a meal. So it's just wonderful. Like I said, I remember the coloring pages, the recipes, I remember all of that. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome.
That's very
food from other cultures is also so important as an experience.
It really is.
There were so many herbs and seasonings that I did not grow up with. You know, I didn't know what cilantro was until we got married, and I tried it. Cilantro, saffron, tarragon, like these are things I never grew up with, and we had it. You know, I had it in Persian food. I was just like, this is incredible. Like,
it's amazing. Like, what have I been doing with my life?
Yeah. Where is this been?
Yeah.
It's why I used to joke about this and say I don't really like or eat American food for that reason. Because culture has always been fascinating to me. More so the beliefs and the values. And when you look at it from a health perspective, albeit, you know, some cultures, you know, bread and rice are staples, and I don't really do a lot of that. But you start to really look at how these seasonings and these herbs and how, you know, the wellness of it all takes flight. It really is fascinating. It's like, wow, the flavors, the taste, the consideration, how long it took to cook, and how a lot of cultures cook in really like large portions because everybody has to eat, right? Right?
Yeah,
that's the Persian way.
I always make the joke that her family is used to cooking for an empire, right? Because they're all Persian.
Totally.
But one of the great things about that, though, is you mentioned food as staples, certain foods as staples. A great thing to ask is why. You know, why is the, you know, rice such a huge staple in certain parts of the world? Why is, you know, this particular, you know, folded bread really popular in this other part of the world? And a lot of it boils down to, some of the history of those cultures.
Yeah.
Were they nomadic? Were they farming? Did they?
What could they grow there?
What did they have
Right.
access to? Yeah, it's great. The food is a history lesson
It
in and of itself.
is. It is. And in addition to, like you said, where were they growing? So you're talking about climate, you're talking about what was accessible, but also their work patterns, right? Their living patterns. You can tell a lot if you know about a people based on their food. It's so, this is why, again, culture is just so fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got the food out the way because I'm thinking, okay, my husband just fixed squash. Like now I'm thinking about food.
Like,
Okay. So fast forward, we have the first book. We know something about the characters. I totally don't want to also give it away. Like just love, 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 love. Now we're on is this our third book, the COVID workbook?
So here's what happened. We had such a demand for book 2 in the series, and we are dying to put it out. I have my day job. I work in big data reporting, and so Joy Sunbear is a labor of love for us, a lot for all of us, but for me especially, it's work during the day to come write and draw at nighttime and on the weekends. And so we started working on book 2 early 2020. And actually end of 2019. And then we got into it in 2020, and then the pandemic hit. Now, my day job, my company is focused on business to business stuff in the digital space. So we actually got really busy.
It's busy. Yeah, no, I get it.
It felt so weird because so many people were losing jobs, and I was working harder than ever in my day job. And it really threw a wrench in getting book 2, processed. But about halfway through the year, Shireen sat down with Aaliyah, and you can kick off how this one got started.
So we were about 15 chapters into the first book, and then COVID hit,
draft.
We, our whole world changed for everybody.
Yeah. Totally.
Everyone's normal is gone. So there's that loss. You're losing people that you love. You're losing time with them. You're losing, just everything that you thought, the freedoms that we had. And
normalcy.
You don't know how this is going to affect your child. And so we firsthand saw our child go through this. And our child is very emotionally intelligent, thanks to who she is and thanks to how we raised her. We've been talking to her since day one, open communication, trust, treating her with respect as a person, giving her the freedom to choose to a point, obviously. As parents, you have the say but really getting her prepared to be confident and empowered and know her worth so she can go into the world and be her best self.
Yeah.
Right? So we can prepare her for that.
Right.
So that's the relationship we have with our daughter. That's how we've raised her. And so seeing even her, have so much difficulty was really hard on us because, you don't know in a pandemic, it's all new for everyone. You don't know when things are going to get better. You don't know what's happening even. I mean, we had no idea. And so, and I deal with anxiety. I deal with PTSD and OCD. I have my own mental health journey, my own trauma. And so I was going through my own personal, difficulties with this. In the meantime, watching our girl and wanting to help her. And at times feeling helpless, at times feeling scared. Like, what am I going to do to help her, give her the answers she needs?
And nobody had the answers.
Nobody had the answer.
Right.
And I can only imagine, I remember it's like, I knew everyone else was going through this. Any other caregiver or parent out there was feeling this heaviness, this fear, this uncertainty. And so, all we did was honestly, like, we saw her crying one day and I went to her and I said, what's wrong, sweetie? And she's like, Mom, I'm sad and I don't know why.
For context, her school went full remote in, I think, May or April of 2020.
It was April. Yeah. It was like, April.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. They were pretty ahead of it. And, for a 10-year-old, that's a huge shift to suddenly lose access to all the day-to-day, That's and the thing about for kids, they don't have 30, 40 years experience to compare it to.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's 2020 for a 10-year-old was literally 10% of their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
yeah,
It is.
And when you don't have a lifetime's worth of experience to compare what's going on to and think, oh, well, I got over this and this and this other thing, and the world survived this, and and
I've been through worse things. I can get through this.
You don't have all that, and to suddenly for all of the normal day-to-day life to go away, they were dealing with a lot.
Yeah,
and like Shireen said, Aaliyah said, I'm sad and I don't know why. I'm crying and I don't know why.
And it really broke my heart because, again, like, you want to protect your child. You want to go in and give them the answers. And so I remember in that moment, I was like, man, I've been here so many times where I've like crying and I don't know why. There's just so much going on. And all I could do is be that space for her.
Yeah.
Be that love for her and let her cry and tell her, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what all of us need in our lives, but especially now. It's like, you are not alone. You're not the only one feeling this fear. You're not the only one feeling anxiety and depression. It's affecting everyone on so many levels.
Even if they don't think it's affecting them.
Yeah.
No, totally.
So to be that space for her and, to give her that love, I was like, this is what we all need. And so we started engaging with her. We started talking about, what she would, once we let her have her feelings and respect them, we said, okay, now let's talk about it. What's going on? And let's get at the depth of why you're sad, and it's okay if you don't know why. Like, there's sometimes you're sad and you don't know why. And, of course it comes out that, she misses her friends. She misses school. She misses seeing her grandma and grandpa and her family, her new cousin. Like, these are things that, and she's like, when is it going to end? And so really just our attention and awareness and presence with her in that moment, and just engaging her and being mindful with her and saying, okay, well, we don't know everything that's happening, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's what can we do to help ourselves in this moment with the control that we have, the power we have.
Right.
But even us, even the relationship that we have with our daughter, and as proud of that relationship with her as we are, even we had to step up our game in terms of how to engage with her with some of these really complex emotions and really complex situations in ways that we'd never had to before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when Shireen realized that these are tools not everybody has. And these are tools that can be very complicated to communicate.
Yep.
These tips and techniques, and how do you engage with your kid, and how do you, as a child, think of accepting and dealing with emotions, dealing with your sadness, welcoming your sadness into your life so you can process it. Like, no kid wants to process a negative emotion. We're told that they're bad.
No human, really.
Yeah. We're told they're bad, and we just have to get over it.
Yeah.
Be strong.
Yeah.
Don't be brave, blah, blah, blah. And we sat there and looked at our daughter and went, that doesn't work.
At all.
That's not sustainable.
Right.
You can't long-term expect that to work. That's why generations before us were so emotionally stunted.
Totally. So, it's literally saying, oh yeah, you're human, but don't be human.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's like we're the only species that will walk up to a dolphin and say, hey, stop doing that dolphin thing.
Yeah.
Couldn't
do this thing we want you to do.
Yeah.
No, totally. And it really does. It affects our children. And we're talking about the generational aspect. It's a form of literacy, thus intelligence, that we've been talking about, but I think there's so much that's been exploited. And I think the internet has grayed so much of it that, the one thing that I am really proud of seeing through COVID is us having these very transparent and very vulnerable conversations like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm adulting and I'm still figuring this out. That means I need to be honest with my children and the children I serve. Parents aren't perfect. Yeah. We're just people too. Let's people together.
And they need to know that, because honestly, when kids grow up, if they grew up under the shadow of a perfect parent, when they find out that parent isn't perfect, it's traumatic.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's like, you lied to me. Like, my whole life was a lie. And it can be extreme. Because, and I say this all the time to my kids, I say it to everybody, because I raised my son similar to how you all raise your daughter. Tell me. I mean, I'm a boy mom, so I have 3 boys. So it's very important for me to let them express.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to kill somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. So, and I've been challenged on how I'm raising, my children to be emotionally intelligent. Well, you guys know, just like you just said, your day job is technical, and we know that hard skills, are emerging. But if you're without soft skills, you're not going to be hired, right? So there's a delicate balance there. But there's the other part that says, hey, I just want them to grow up understanding the truth, always yearning for it, searching for it, centering it, and making values, integrity, and those things that are real and true and meaningful, like a central part of life and living. Like, I'm not perfect, sweetheart. Like, neither were my parents, neither were their parents. That's not what this is about. It's about the lessons we learn, how we treat each other, and so forth. So I love this conversation of many people don't have that, they don't have that space. Many children are in homes that there's some really tough stuff happening right now, and they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I don't like to compare suffering because it's unnecessary. We're all human, right? But I do say that it's our responsibility as authors, as educators, as community, as those who believe in community, to talk about it and to say, be brave. You can talk about this. We talked about it with Aaliyah. I talk about it with Tim. We talk about it with our students, and we do this through storytelling, which is also that gateway to learning and achieving and to being our best self. Storytelling is how we do this. We're made up of emotions, nothing else, not blood and muscles and all this stuff. I mean, we are, but we're just one blob of emotion.
That's actually your point about storytelling is really important, because that's how we ended up writing this book in this format. When she didn't start thinking about how a lot of these people don't have access to these emotional tools, sometimes it's just a matter of not ever being exposed to it. That's when she sat down and well, you go ahead, you tell her about your conversation with Aaliyah.
Once we saw that, what we were doing was helping Aaliyah, again, it wasn't perfect. It's not taking away everything. The pandemic is still here.
Right.
And the thing we have to really be honest with ourselves, like you said, Tiffany, about being truthful to your children and to yourself, and just being like, I don't know everything. Nobody does.
I don't want to. It's too much.
Exactly.
I won't be responsible for all that.
The effects of this pandemic will be, showing itself through years to come. It's trauma, right? We're all going through PTSD right now. We're all developing PTSD, and not to scare people, not to, no fear here. It's just the truth. Anything traumatic, such a life-changing, new, scary, unknown experience is going to bring trauma with it. So we have to be honest that this isn't something, even when our kids go back to school and we're not, we all been vaccinated or whatever you believe in, and things change, which I'm hopeful they will, the trauma is not going to go away. It's going to take time. So, how are we going to help our children in the best way we can with this knowledge, knowing that we can't ignore this? This isn't something you can stuff down yourself and just be like, oh, my kid will get over it. No, these are deep emotions. And so when I saw that what we were doing was helping Aaliyah as far as expressing herself, she was letting the anger out. She was letting the sadness out. She was talking about how she's upset that people aren't masking. Why aren't they doing their part? We do our part, mommy. Why don't they do their part so that we can get through this faster? Things like that. We were so grateful and proud that, like, okay, we're proud that she's receptive and she's doing the work, that we're proud of ourselves for doing the work and being there for her and learning through this. And, what can we do now to help others?
Right.
Because really, like, it is helping her. It's not taking away the problem, but it's helping her give the tools that she needs to go through it with more of awareness, intelligence, acceptance, confidence, So I sat with her one day, and we usually in the summer we'll do some projects together. And it was August. And I said, I don't even remember exactly. It just came to me. I was like, hey, Aaliyah, what if we could take everything that we've been learning through this pandemic and we can help other people? We could help other kids, help with their feelings and all these overwhelming emotions. And of course, Aaliyah, being who she is, loves helping people, was like, yeah, let's do it, mommy, let's do it. So we sat down together and, we started mapping, of course, we're like, what are we going to do? We're going to use Joy Sunbear because we know the characters are relatable.
Totally.
She's grown up with the characters. And we're like, this is the perfect vehicle to speak to kids.
Mm-hmm.
So she sat down, and she's a great artist. So she's like drawing the trickster, and we're coming up with different activities. And it was so special to have that moment and that bond with her and know that, wow, through our difficult, scary time, we're coming together as a family and we're going to create something out of our hearts and through our painful experience to hopefully help others as they go through theirs. And at that time, I didn't even think of it like that. I was just like, let's do this. We were motivated. We got this guy involved because we need the art and we need his special touch and heart. And in 5 months, we had big changes, new adventures.
Oh my God. It's phenomenal.
And, we basically take children through the 5 universal emotions, which is sad, mad, scared, disgusted, and happy.
There's a couple more, but they didn't fit in this book.
And our characters actually go through a lot of the feelings and emotions that kids are going through with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a specific section that talks about COVID. We talk about what it is. So, in a kid-friendly way. I don't know if I'm holding this right. Can you help me?
Yeah, I got it.
And, and then each character goes through the different emotion and expresses what they're feeling. So Joy, for example, is scared. So he'll share his, his experience on why he's scared.
This is why I was saying that point of storytelling to teach and communicate emotional technology, essentially, is so important. That's what we leverage in this book. Yeah.
So this shows like each character and why they're feeling what they're feeling. So first off, the kids know they're not alone.
Yeah.
They can relate, and they have someone to go through this with them. They have these animal buddies that are going to go through it and show them that, hey, I know you're going through a tough time. This is hard, but we can get through this together. And we have some ways that they can make it a little easier for you and the ways you can help others.
And whatever you're feeling, it's okay.
And whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Because that's the one thing is acceptance, right? Like when you start judging yourself and saying, well, why am I upset? I shouldn't be upset. I'm better than that.
That's the downward spiral.
Exactly. Yeah. That resistance is keeping you from honoring your experience and in yourself and getting past it, working through it and then letting it go and growing from that. You're completely like preventing yourself to go through that entire amazing experience because you're resisting. So whatever resists persists, Eckhart Tolle.
Absolutely.
So, love him. So yeah, we sat together, and as this was coming along, I took a lot of the tools that I've been learning through my mental health journey. So mindfulness, yoga, qigong, journaling, reframing your thoughts, and instead of reacting, responding to your thoughts, knowing that your thoughts are not you. This is a big one, and that's where the trickster comes in, because
that's why I said I love that he doesn't have a name.
He doesn't have a name because what does he represent? The ego.
Oh my God. The layers of the ego.
The layers of the ego. Exactly.
Right. It's like this is here, but it's really not here.
Exactly.
And it's figuratively and metaphorically. If we can start to teach that earlier, if we can just frame that earlier for our kids, like, wait a minute, this thing is gonna follow you and it's going to try to convince you that it's real.
It's real. Yeah.
I mean, and it is real, but not so much, right?
That's where the trickster really shines in this book, I think, because
totally,
as an antagonist in the first book, one of his special powers was his whisper magic, where he'd shrink down to the size of a bug and he'd whisper in somebody's ear using their own voice, because his trickster is mimicry and illusion,
like the ego does.
He'd whisper in your ear something, and you would hear it as your own thought.
Yeah.
And astute readers in the book would notice that many of the angry animals, the ones that were angry at the refugees, didn't bother distinguishing whether or not that was their thought. They just rolled with it. And that's how
Totally.
the chaos began. But the trickster tries it on Joy, and Joy is more conscious of what he's thinking. And he goes, that doesn't sound like me.
Yeah.
Why
At
did I
all.
have that thought?
Yeah.
And we put that in the first book to really start putting the seed in kids' minds that you're not your thoughts. And it really shines in this book because we get to have him do his trickster attacks where he shows up and he presents an idea, right, under each emotion. Like for sad, he comes in, he says everything, scared. He says everything is scary and being scared makes you weak. And we encourage kids to take the time to think, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And then draw a funny picture on him, or like mustache and, funny costume.
You make light of it and realize it's just an illusion. It's not really who you are.
Yeah. And even if it is for a second, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to feel it. Like you said, the acceptance of it. I always say in every space I can, this is the same thing as a Buddhist, it's connection is healthy, attachment is not. So when we're holding on to it and we're saying that it's actually a part of us, we need to make sure that that's the part that we want it to be, right? Okay, if we have to go through this sadness, weakness, whatever, it's all human emotion. It's all human emotion. Like you're not worse than, better than. This is not that kind of race. This is you're you, and you get to experience these emotions as they come, and you work through the ones that feel really good and the ones that, like you said, feel yucky. This is another reason why I love this. And you see, we have like 14 minutes left, and it's like there's so much else to talk about. I want to read this real quick because this is a workbook that I suggest. Not that I'm not suggesting the first book, because again, that's the history. Even if you go back on the website, the Joyce Hunberry website, you'll see all of the activities, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to read this because it's in line with the Wheel of Imagination, which promotes whole child. And it carries on through whole school and whole community. And this is at the very beginning of the workbook. And it's a message about wholeness. And I can't read all of it for the sake of time because I want you guys to talk about it. But I just want to read maybe the first 4 sentences. So
please,
if you guys can see it, I don't know, Sharon, can you hold it up, babe? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm going to read this because I'm such a crybaby. And I really am. Like when I read it, I was like, oh my God, yes. This is why I've been so excited to talk to you guys. Yeah. So the first one, a message about wholeness. So when we're scared, sometimes we're told, don't worry. When we're sad, others might tell us, be happy. When we're mad, people might say, don't be upset. When we're disgusted, they say, get over it. I'm going to do a couple more. Mm-hmm. But when we're happy, they tell us that's great and spend more time with us. It's easy to start to feel like we're just supposed to be happy in order for other people to approve of us. But life is filled with all different kinds of feelings, and happy is just one of them. We have to understand how all the emotions are a part of us, and how to accept and love all of them in order to truly be able to enjoy when we're happy. That's what this workbook is about. Learning to embrace all the emotions and learning to love ourselves through all of them, even the yucky ones. I mean,
yeah,
there's so much more to read on the page, but it really is like, this is the stuff. And my friends and I talk about this a lot. And I love my parents. They are wonderful people, but there's certain things it's like, wait, I wish my parents would have told me that, because I'm such an emotionally intelligent empath, only want to see people happy, right? Like it's overwhelming to manage it. And honestly, I think if I would have had a better spiritual and emotional community when I was growing up, and I won't say a better or different, then I probably wouldn't be a crybaby. But honestly,
No, not necessarily. And it's okay if you are. It's okay.
No, seriously, Jordan, like when I tell you now, it's like I am what I am. Like, I don't care. Like I be in the fields because I'm sensitive about everyone being able to explore the range of emotions and not be oppressed. Like I am so anti-oppression, right? Yeah. Do not push those feelings down, because if you push them down, you will eventually become bitter and angry. I don't care who you are. We know the story of bullies. Most bullies have been bullied, right? So when we talk about this wide range of emotions, it's what makes us whole. Well, what makes us whole is telling the truth, right? I'm feeling some kind of way and I don't understand it, just like the baby girl did. I don't understand it. You know what? Do I even want to understand it right now? Probably
Yeah.
not. I'll
And
come
give
back
yourself
to it.
that respect. If you don't, it's okay. Have that
Yeah.
self-care time, you know?
Totally.
I agree with you, Tiffany. I feel exactly the same way as you. I love my parents. They did the best they could, you know, and we all do.
Totally.
But that's why but I'm going to speak for myself, of course. I am personally so passionate about what we're doing in our message, and especially this book. One, because it's through my daughter's love and inspiration for her, but also my inner child healing. You know, I'm going through that.
Yes.
I've had to, and I'm continuing to heal my inner child for everything she went through. And, you know, I have those moments just like you, where it's like, oh man, I wish I didn't have to go. I wish, you know, who would I be now? But honestly, I'm who I am. I'm supposed to be who I am.
Absolutely.
But what can I do for kids now?
Yep.
Can this help a child now that doesn't have the tools, doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the awareness of, hey, it's okay if you're upset. It's okay if you're this, if you're just love you as you.
Right.
And so honestly, like if this book can even help one kid, two kids, three kids, like feel comfortable in their own skin and feel worthy. Because that's the one thing, I didn't always feel worthy of who I was. I always felt like I had to be enough. I had to prove myself.
Totally.
And so to be able to teach our children now, especially with the pandemic, these skills so that they can feel worthy, just think of the energy and love and consciousness they're going to put out in the world and how it's going to affect others to help feel that way, and that ripple effect that it's going to have.
That imagination will come through, that desire to learn, what we call academic integrity, the interest, the purpose. A lot of the kids that I'm serving right now, and I said this, we see this with growing up with, and I know you know this, being in the tech field, because I too, same thing with the day job, which is why Imagiread has kind of been, I mean, I'm very fortunate, but my work as a project manager, a communications consultant, like it's heavy. It's go, 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 right? And we're constantly looking at data and we're constantly on Zoom calls. I mean, it's just a lot. However, when you look at it and you think about that and how you can help and how you can improve, this is where we are. We're saying not just to get your emotional intelligence in line because it's this buzzword, but it really does open up all of these possibilities, right? And I was saying about the purpose. Well, I'm seeing a lot of our kids, they've grown up with these pocket computers and they are so confused. They have all these messages coming at them. I mean, again, adults, it's like, where am I? What day is it? Oh, turn the clocks forward. Like, oh, the clock's already turned forward. Like, what time is it? You know? So you have the same thing going on with kids, but if we can encourage them to say, hey, once you sift through this and you stay focused on, you are supposed to be who you are. You're supposed to be here doing what you feel passionate about, what's interesting you. Then this is how we get to a really balanced innovation. And because we say that they're the future, it's like we have to empower them to do that, which means, again, we have to check our feelings. We have to be honest with them.
We have to do our work too.
And we have to accept and honor their experience too, Tiffany. Like a lot of parents will resist their children being upset or uncomfortable because it's inconvenient for them.
Totally.
And that is totally ultimately not going to help anybody. We have to honor our kids' experience. They're experiencing life in a completely different way than we experienced our childhood. And honestly, why wait until we're adults to start learning this stuff? My life would have been totally different if I had learned some of this stuff growing up. You know, I know the same thing for cheating, and I'm praying that having this access to this, emotional technology is beneficial for the kids that come across it. One thing I wanted to float real quick, Tiffany, because I know we're running out of time, but your boy mom, we're raising a little girl. And I think that in both genders end up facing different types of emotional oppression.
Totally. Absolutely. I didn't want to go there. Thank you for going there.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. Because, I'm a Army veteran myself. I grew up from divorced parents, and honestly, the early years of our marriage, which we're coming up on 20 years pretty soon.
Wow.
18.
18.
You guys are only like
It's close to
25. Jeez.
Yeah, thank you.
It's, you know, in the early years of our marriage, I was just out of the army. I was going through college,
Yeah.
and
You're 22.
a lot of what's in this book was stuff that I was coming through trying to figure out.
Yeah.
You know, and because, you know, I grew up as a 90s boy.
Yeah.
We were told all sorts of things that were very unhealthy for us. And the girls that grew up in the same era told all sorts of other different things, emotionally impressive things that were also unhealthy for them. I had a coworker when I was sharing this book with some coworkers who said, "Oh, I'll get this to talk with my daughter about it, but my boy's fine. He just gets on video games and he'll be okay." And I was like, no. I was like, I play video games often as a mask for dealing with things I don't want to have to deal with.
Period. Avoidance.
Like, get the book with your boy. Go through it with him, please. He clearly will need that. You clearly will need that. You know.
See, nobody, and this is why I love that you said that, because again, I had this conversation. I always had this conversation. I have it with my husband. I have it with, you know, I have it all the time.
It's another 2-hour conversation on its own.
It is, but you know what happens? Because I hate to make this gender specific, but because I'm a woman, it doesn't come across like you just said it. If you out of your mouth say, boys deal with this, and it will morph into manhood with us if it's not addressed, right? I can't say that as a woman because it's like, oh, you're just being sexist or whatever, right? But as a boy mom, this is something I'm telling you, I'm bashed for this. Like, why do you let him say stuff like that? I'm like, well, if he doesn't say it out loud, then he's just going to push it down and it's going to become a problem, right? Yeah, no. You're playing these video games with guns, with even if it's not weaponry, right? If it's not, it's tactical and it's strategy to kill somebody, whatever the thing is, right? You're playing these and you're soaking in this imagery. But if you don't understand how to balance that and you don't understand, like you go into that harboring a lot of feelings that you press down, you will kill somebody. I'm just saying, like, it just makes sense. You'll want to hurt yourself and others. So we have to address it differently. And I'm so glad you said that because I'm telling you, I mean, I get all kinds of judgment, like, oh, you just let your, and again, within reason, you're not disrespectful. Yeah. But if you're going through something and you feel some kind of way, why are you crying? I don't do the tough boy thing. I don't do that. I don't expect you to be anything else but human, period.
There's a huge difference between why are you crying and why are you crying?
Yeah, like what's wrong? What's going on? Tell me what I missed here. You know?
My friend who's also a teacher, her son, they were going through a tough time and her son was having difficulty expressing his feelings, which at the time she didn't know was anxiety and depression. And he went through our Introducing the Emotions page here, which goes through each emotion, explains them, and you get to draw and color the emotions that you're feeling. And she said within minutes of him just being, you know, all of them being at each other's throats, he's coloring his emotions, he's smiling, and she's able to read this and look at the drawings and realize, oh, wow, he's anxious. He's depressed. He's going through something, and that's why he's acting this way. Instead of just saying, "Oh, he's a boy or a girl, whatever. He's acting out. That's what he does." Or you know, he's a problem child. She's a problem child. No, everybody has everything they need within them. You just have to give them the tools and love and access and space to learn and use those things. And so, like, to hear from my friend saying that her boy was able to, you know, express himself comfortably and she was able to understand it as a parent so she could help him more, really meant a lot to me, because it was just like, this book is not it's not going to answer everything. You should get professional help if you need it.
Absolutely.
This doesn't replace therapy. This does not replace all the other amazing tools that are out there, but it's definitely a resourceful tool that can open that conversation up, that can start building that awareness, that can start building that connection to themselves and to their parent, to their teacher. We've had 3 psychologists now saying this is needed in all classrooms, especially with kids transitioning back into in-person learning. There's going to be new challenges and fears. I mean, kids are wearing masks. They can't play with each other. They have to be distant. These are all going to bring new stresses and fears. And so this wonderful psychologist, Dr. Regine Muradian, she was amazing. She's reviewed our book. She told us, she's like, this needs to be in schools. This is going to help teachers open up that conversation, that communication with kids. It's going to give them that support so teachers know like how do I go about finding out how my students are doing? What tools and exercises can I use? So we hope that this can be a guidance, an important tool that anybody can use to connect with their child, build a healthy environment and relationship, and really, like you said, start creating a new future, a new world where mental health, emotional health, physical health, it's all connected. It's all seen as important in one because they all affect each other.
They do.
We got to start now, and we got to start with our kids. Like what else are we going to do?
And it's going to take work and time. It's not a open a page and pick it and everything.
This isn't going to solve all your problems. I'm telling you.
We're going to have to put in the work as a culture.
But it's
totally
that could help in your toolkit.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, especially from the 21st century perspective. Again, when we're talking about these technical careers, right? It's still imagination and innovation. Where do you get that from? You get that from being able to freely express, to create, to do these things. So you understand, even from a human-centered design perspective, like there's so many layers. It's so important. It's economic. It's safety. It's so important for our children to hone in on it. But we have to be able to, as parents, as educators, as caregivers, community organizers, be able to present it in a way where children feel safe enough to talk about it, to work through it. And again, we could go 2 more hours, but of course we said an hour. But I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation because, of course, post conversation, I'd already promised that I was going to like really go through it. I'm so glad I have my electronic card. I got to get I'm thinking about maybe I'll do like some giveaway. I got to do something.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I want to blog about it extensively and align it to the will of imagination, where you talk about social, emotional wellness and relationships, because our kids are going through so much. You're right. Because this is a new normal. So how can I still create meaningful experiences digitally? Because I do miss my friends, right? So it's just transitioning them and us being supportive and us making sure that we're caring for each other. Like, okay, let's check in on each other.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of adults reach out and say that they've used the book and it's helped them. And like family members that don't have kids, they to support us. And then they started using it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is helping me. This is helping my inner child.
You can color, for crying out loud. I mean,
you can color. That's therapy, right?
Totally.
I personally was having some anxiety a few weeks ago that was pretty bad, and I went through the scared section. And my daughter actually brought it to me. She's like, "Mommy, here." And I'm like, "All right, I got to, I put this up and let's do the work."
Practice what I preach.
And it helped. And that's the thing is like our challenge now, Tiffany, is to get into schools. Like that's what's been hard for us. And so any help we can get, any administrators or teachers that are willing to give this a chance in the school environment, I know it's going to change lives. It's going to help so many people. It's going to help take that pressure off teachers, so they don't feel the burden of how am I supposed to, in addition to everything I already do. They work so hard. They have been through this pandemic, having to change the way they do everything to provide for our children. Now they have to deal with this when the kids start coming in the classroom. And that's not fair to our teachers. They need help.
It's not. Let's talk about this for like 3-4 more minutes, because honestly, we got, we had technical difficulties. So that gave us permission. Right. So one of the things that I did with the Meet the Author series, and Irie is on, I just love her. She's joining us from Wales. It's like 10, it's 11 o'clock tonight. It's like 11 o'clock at night. She should be like sleeping.
Wow.
We talked about this with her Flitless series that also promotes diversity and inclusion, social emotional wellness, and the like, right? Mental health, literacy development, all the same things. And what we said was, because teachers are under unimaginable duress right now, especially if you're in the classroom, you're having to manage a lot of our teachers. Really didn't have the digital skills to begin with. A lot of our teachers really didn't have, again, the presentation of the social emotional wellness skills to begin with. So this is a professional development, challenge, right?
Very much, yeah.
So what we're asking in this regard, because this is why I love this conversation, is to say, hey, do you already have the book? If you already have the workbook, this is what would be so helpful, because I'm going to expand on this. It's just time. Like, again, if I had a clone, this wouldn't even be a problem.
Yeah, right.
But she just won't show up, for crying out loud.
I know.
Where are you?
She's like, no, I'm good.
Right. Like, I ain't coming
You
down
got
there
That's
with
it. That's all yours.
She's like, you got this.
Right. But if you have the book already, what I would ask is, and this is just helping us to keep this conversation going, to get in schools, because I have a responsibility, and it's just time. If you have the book already, what was most meaning for you in terms of a lesson? Like, what was your aha, right? What was your, oh, this would be easy to do? Because what we're seeing with teachers is they still need somebody to do the work with them, right? So if I can give a teacher something completely done for you, ways that this has already been used and integrated, that is going to be more like the teacher is going to more likely pick that up, because it's still time for them. They're still scattered. They still have families. They still have responsibilities. They still have parents. They still have people they have to care for. So if I can support a teacher and say, hey, I already did this. This person used it this way. This psychologist used it this way. This person used it this way. This person used it that way. Then that's easier. So if I can appeal to anyone who's already read the workbook and gone through it, colored it even, if you frame some of the coloring pages, right? If you've made them flashcards, you cut them out, right? Because there's so much you can do with the workbook. Like, it's unbelievable. But how did you use it? Tell us that. Tell us how you used it and what was like really easy for you to just thumb through, pick, and say, oh, that was nice, right?
We would love that.
Yeah, we would love that. We'd really, greatly appreciate it. I know the psychologist told me that, she can see teachers taking however much time they have. Let's say it's a half hour, an hour a week, or whatever it is, and just go through each section. The good thing about the workbook is it is done in sections. So the beginning is, the kids get to talk about who they are and express themselves.
I love that too.
Make it their own,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it goes through the characters, so they understand who the characters are, and they, get to connect with them. And then really it goes after it introduces all the emotions, Tiffany, the way we structured it is we were thinking of that. We were thinking, well, how can an educator use this in an organized fashion?
Right.
Is after all those introductions, it goes through each of the 5 universal emotions, and it has exercises to help with those specific emotions. So of course, those exercises could help with any emotion, but we chose ones that we thought would best fit that particular emotion. And it takes the kids through everything, directions, everything is all there. So literally they just open up the book and it's right there for them. There's directions, there's places where they can write themselves and draw. There's no extra paper needed. If you don't want to do more drawing, everything is there. So really it's just following the workbook in whatever way you want. You can start with a specific emotion. Maybe most of the kids in the class were feeling anger that day. The teacher noticed that. And so they go to the anger section and they focus on that. But it's pretty organized already. So we're hoping that helps. Our other book does have a actual guide, the classroom guide that we put together that's available as a PDF on the website. And it's actually it's very affordable. I think it's like $4.99 or something.
It's a couple bucks, yeah.
And it's extensive. It has activities, it has vocabulary, it has character building, so many things that they can do, group activities and solo activities. And that is a very comprehensive guide with the first book. But with this, I feel like of course, we're open to feedback. We're always so happy to change things and learn, but it's its own guide. Like everything's here.
I love it. Thinking about even this, because I've been telling TM, I'm like, okay, we've had all these, how to draw books or what have you. Like, as an artist, I really am like an artist. Like, I sing, I paint, I do all these creative things, but I don't know how to draw. Like, Canva is my best friend. It's really bad. But I'm thinking about like page 9. So think about this as a teacher, as an educator, right? When I was in the classroom, what I would do is the way I would plan my lessons would, be based on one central topic. And the goal was, of course, to introduce, conceptual knowledge, functional knowledge. But think about this. If I were to say, what are we going to do for the art part? And I go to page 9 and I see how the rough idea and the cleaner lines and you see what I'm saying? It's, let's intersperse this or pull this out. So that's why I want to hear from the community. Like, how have you used this, right? Are you like a beginner in art and you're like, oh, that's cool. I can just draw a joy. Like, oh, wait, it goes from sticks to cleaner lines and more looking like a bear. But all of it is still relative. Like, I love that, right?
Yeah,
you.
we took that and actually and use the art concept, because we know kids love drawing and they can
Totally.
connect with that. And we use it towards teaching them how to reframe their thoughts,
Yep.
redraw your thoughts.
Reframing thoughts doesn't mean anything to kids, but
Yeah.
they understand drawing.
Oh,
And-
totally.
And we did that through this book. Like, we kept thinking of ways that it would connect to a child, how, because this is, as you know, you said you're a Buddhist, correct?
Yes, I am.
I mean, this stuff's, it's not easy for even us to understand. Like, this is soul searching. This is deep.
It's
So for us
ongoing. Like, it doesn't
exactly.
stop.
So to break that down for kids was challenging, but we have our experience and we have the talent, he said, and we're blessed with it, and a lot of love. And our daughter helped us a lot with that. Sitting with her and doing a lot of this stuff was helpful to say, Mom, I don't get this. Let's reframe that. Let's change that.
Yeah.
She was a content editor both for this book and for the original story, in the sense that we would run things past her. I would read chapters of this book as we wrote it and show her illustrations. And honestly, as I was drawing, if she ran up, saw the picture and laughed, I knew I was on the right track.
Yeah.
And
but if not, it's like, okay, I got
to fix something.
Yeah.
And for this workbook, it was a lot the same. We run some of these exercises past her and be like, does this make sense? What would you do if we gave you this exercise? And she'd tell us or show us, and that would let us know, okay, the instructions weren't clear enough, we got to go back and fix it a little bit, or hey, we nailed it, great.
And another thing we did real quick, Tiffany, is because of COVID and how restricted everyone is with seeing people that they love, and that social interaction that is so important for children's development, for their well-being, for all of us, but especially kids. They're just learning to interact with others, and how, what's a healthy way to do that, what isn't. In our happiness section, we have something called Happiness in the Community, and it goes through all these different ways that children can, despite being in a pandemic and being locked down in a lot of ways, can bring happiness to people around them, whether it's virtually. I don't know if I'm not very good.
I can see it. Yep.
And the hands coming together, you see that?
Yes.
There's the animal hands. So we wanted kids to, again, connect with the community, connect with our environment, because there's stuff in there to take care of the environment as well.
Totally.
Feel empowered, feel like they still can make a difference. They still can, take what they feel inside and have it help someone else. Practice that kindness, that compassion.
Radiate. Yeah.
Because really, like right now, one of the hardest things is like, I can't just go and hug my sister, my mom, as easily as I can't just go do something special the way I wanted to do it. But how else can I do it? What else can I do? And so giving those kids those choices and really helping them feel that connection still, despite not being connected with people physically. We even have a social circle page. So kids are reminded of who's in their social circle. And there's 3 different layers. So they know who's, they really trust that they can go speak to when they have problems. And then who else is, in their friendship circle, who's in their participation circle. And we explain all that in here. But again, to remind kids that you're not alone. I know it's hard. It's a pandemic. We're all isolated in many ways, but you still aren't alone, and you're going to get through this. And there's ways you can help others too.
Absolutely. By navigating it. I love it so much. I mean, I can't say enough. That's why I was so excited to talk to you all. Like,
we're excited. Thank you.
It's brilliant. And the conversation, even though we have to dip off, we're going to post a video as soon as it's available to us via StreamYard. We'll post it on YouTube, and we'll have this follow-up conversation. When we talk about community, again, the whole premise of the Wheel of Imagination is to contribute to the community, right? But only whole children can do that, right? I mean, you can contribute broken, if you will, because we're all broken. But the better we are talking about and positioning wholeness, the more fruitful the actual contribution will be. Like, we really do need each other. We really do need each other. And I'll never not believe that. Like, I don't care. Like, we need each other. We need each other. It doesn't matter. None of this stuff that everybody wants us to believe matters. Unity consciousness is a thing, and it's real. And so I'm so delighted that you all took the time to join us. They're in California, by the way. Lovely California. What's the weather today?
It's actually right now it's pretty sunny,
About
but it's been
65 and
cold.
sunny.
For us, it's been cold. Not for we don't want to. We're spoiled. So, but for us,
It works the same way here. It's like, well, what's cold, Tiff? I'm like 40, 50 degrees. It's like, really?
Yeah, we're like
Yeah. If it dips down to 50, we're bundled up.
We're
freezing.
Yeah. Freezing. But right now it's actually pretty sunny, so we're very blessed to have that.
Awesome.
We're honored to be here. So thank you so much for having us and for all that you do to help our children and the world, and any way that we can help each other to make this world a better place for our kids. Let's start with us, right?
Totally. That's all we have. Well, this is, like I said, not the end. We appreciate everyone for joining in. Joy's son Bear has always been a bear near and dear to my heart. My oldest, in fact, his nickname is Bear. So it's I just have this thing about bears, and it he can be cute and cuddly, or I'm like, whoa, slow down. Oh, hi, Joy. Oh my
yeah, we're hoping to do a Kickstarter soon for these cute little, and these are recycled, by the way. So they're I think he's like 97% recycled and she's 100%, or vice versa. But yeah, again, going to our mission, taking care of the world. So, but yeah, we're hoping to do the Kickstarter soon for these, and hope
I cannot wait, because I'm like, oh my God, give it to me now.
We thought it'd be good with the journal, right? Because they're going through all these emotions.
It's good because you have kinesthetic learners, you have learners who are anxious, anxiety. There's so many. Oh my gosh, I'm in love.
I know. They turned out really well. He did great designing them. So
really, honestly, truly. And we appreciate you because, again, we know, trust me, I know how it is to work. Like, I mean, just to be able to work, and then you got left brain, and it's like, oh, my creative vein is just gone. Like, I just need sleep, or you just want to watch something, or you just want to tune out. Yeah. But we appreciate you both for like the tenacity stand, because the kids really do need this. I'm going to keep looking at ways to integrate, like I said, and align it with the will of imagination. Keep talking to the educators community. We're going to get this out there. We're going to get this out there.
We're happy to work with you and help in any way we can. So thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Well, that's it for another Meet the Author. I'm so excited. Be sure to follow Joy. You guys are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
At Joy Sunbear.
At Joy Sunbear.
We even have Pinterest, not as active on there, but Pinterest. We're on YouTube. We have all our videos, including our daughter's video of her experience of the pandemic.
Oh, awesome.
And we were also featured on Good Day LA, which was such a blessing.
I saw that. It was incredible. It was like the first message after the storm. I was like, oh, yes.
So good.
It was,
the spirit is with me, because it was just so chaotic. The storm was so chaotic. So that was the first message that, when I finally got internet back and got online, I was like, oh, this just does my heart good. So I'm so glad you guys
are doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're okay. And that means a lot to us. But yeah, we were blessed with that opportunity, and we just hope it can reach as many people as possible to help. We really do.
It will. It's all it takes is our energy. That's it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. We'll stay in touch, and
let's talk again soon.
Yes, let's do it. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Take care.
All righty.
Bye.